Welcome to the When in Robes podcast. This is the only show where you don't need clothes to travel the world. I'm Carly Consker, your host and personal travel guide. Let's do the damn thing. Hello. Welcome back to When in Robes. I'm Carly Consker, and today I have a really special guest. I have a friend here with me. We are actually coming to you from my apartment. This is the first time I am not at a hotel with her because we did not have the opportunity to interview her when we were in Santorini. We met in Santorini, and I knew immediately that she had to be on the podcast. She's absolutely incredible. She is not a travel expert, but she is a travel enthusiast and loves to travel and super knowledgeable. So everybody, welcome Johanne Basile.
Hello.
Hi. Tell everybody a little about yourself and where you're from, what you do for a living, how you kind of got into travel, what sparked that for you.
For sure. So I'm originally Lebanese. I was born in Montreal and raised in Lebanon. I did move back to Montreal for my studies and then ended up working in Vancouver. I started off in advisory sales at a mutual fund company. Then I did equity research at a startup, which led me to a career in investment banking at a boutique investment bank. And so that's really where I'm at right now. I'm an investment banker, really like what I do, but I also just love to travel in general. And I guess the way it started was around the time I was in Montreal. I remember wanting to do so much, going to New York, for example, passing by Paris every time I went back to Lebanon, but then also just realizing that you can just do it whenever you want to do it rather than have to plan it ahead of time and figure things out. So whenever I actually had the time, flexibility to do so, I would just hop on a plane and just go wherever I felt like going. And it was just amazing. And I guess that's kind of how we met, right?
Exactly.
It was a last minute trip, and I'll kind of let you tell the story.
So we met in Santorini. We were at a restaurant in Ia called Fino. It's one of my favorite restaurants. I've gone there now both times I've been to Santorini, and you kind of stumbled upon it. But weirdly, I think it was fate that they put us together and also we had the most amazing waiter that night.
He was adorable.
I can't remember his name, but he was so fabulous and he was amazing. But I was having dinner with my cousin Alana. And all of a sudden, this cute, cool, girl comes and sits next to us, and she's there alone. And we look at each other, we're like, oh, we have to talk to her. There's no way we can just let her have this meal alone. Yeah. And we ended up talking the whole time, basically having dinner together. Yeah. And it was amazing.
It was.
Yeah.
It really was.
And now we're here.
Yeah. And then that part about when we were talking over dinner, I mentioned not staying there for long and having to go back to Paris just for 24 hours before I head back to Vancouver. And Carly also had the same flight, basically.
We found out that we were on the same flight to Paris, 2 days later?
Yeah.
Which was amazing. And speaking of that flight, I want to talk a little about, we have very different styles when it comes to traveling.
God, yes. I remember that.
How you some people, I guess, love to get on the plane very early. Some people just wait, and it gives me anxiety to wait until everyone's gotten on. But you just chill there at the airport. You don't care. You're let everyone go. I'm not waiting in line.
No, I'm sitting until the last kind of minute. I also don't like to arrive early. So I'll be the person who's running around, asking people if I can skip this line or figure something out. Nexus for me was amazing because I reduced my wait time by at least an hour, right? So yeah, I don't like spending too much time in the airport, I have to admit. I'd rather really just be almost missing my flight than That
would give me a full-blown panic attack. We were sitting next to each other, and I was like, okay, I'm going to wait it out a little. I can do this. I can do this. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I got to get in line.
No, you're excuse me, but I need to
I go, this was fun, but I got to go. I'm get there early. I have to plan ahead. That type of, I like to get on to the plane, early, get settled, everything. And you're easy breezy, last minute, always.
And it's funny because I had to send off my old work, did a dinner for me last week. And they gave me this, I don't even know how to describe it, this little like cartoon, like picture basically that depicts me and what they learned about me in the last 3 years. And it was adorable. And one of the things they had was like clearly a suitcase, because I would go in and out even from the office back to the office. I would catch red-eye flights straight to the office just so that I can spend a long weekend somewhere. And so I remember like when I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, this is so funny. The fact that they realized this. There was a screen with an Air Canada badge on it, and then it said 10 minutes to departure.
No way.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was adorable.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
And now you're moving to London.
I am.
Do you think being closer to a lot of travel destinations, I would say, like, will you be traveling more?
I will, despite the fact that I am in an industry that's really demanding, where it's not like you can just, travel whenever you want. I definitely think I will. And that's because I used to do long weekends to Hawaii. So a 6-hour flight
that's
to
crazy.
Hawaii, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, those are the red-eye flights that I used to catch, right? So like I would leave by Friday late afternoon and then come back either Tuesday morning or like even Monday sometimes morning, right? So it was totally worth it. So imagine a 2-hour train ride
to Paris,
or a 40-minute plane, like
you can be in Paris in 2 hours.
Exactly.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're going to be traveling so much more now that you're moving.
Yeah. And then with work from home and all that, it's like it makes things much easier than before, where you didn't necessarily have that flexibility.
Totally.
Yeah.
What advice can you give people who, because you solo travel a lot, for someone who's either hesitant for solo traveling or like tips while they're solo traveling? Like what some stuff that you learned through the years of like your travels?
Yeah. So I guess my first experience of kind of just last minute-ish was my brother wanting to collect points. I was going back to Beirut. I had an internship there. And he was like, oh, okay, you're going to stop in Paris for like 24 hours or 48 hours. And I started freaking out. I was like, I'm so excited. I really want to do this, but I did not plan it. I don't have a place to stay. And it was just, I was all over the place. And then I'm like, okay, this is more exciting than anything else. Right. That's how you need to think about it. Like, yes,
it's an opportunity scary, rather than like stressful.
But it's also going to be so much fun, right? Totally. And then you can just figure it out. You're not the first person to do it, right? So I remember connecting with a friend. We were not that close even. And she's like, oh my God, you're in Paris? Stay over. I have a weekend planned for you. It's going to be amazing. And right after that trip, she came to Lebanon to see me.
Amazing.
And then we're best friends now. We're traveling. We've traveled together all the time. We visit each other wherever we are. Like we barely spend time in Montreal versus everywhere else in the world. And that's where we were both living at some point, and that's where we met. So it was amazing.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so I would say just think about it as an exciting opportunity. Forget about the how, when, why. And then you're never alone. Like it is called solo travel, but look at what happened with us.
Totally.
I was minding my own business, right? I came into Fino, I sit down and then I see two lovely ladies who are just, you were full of life. You were so fun. You asked so many questions. You were genuinely interested in what was going on, right? And it's also vacation mode. People are more chill. They're more laid back. They're more sociable and
outgoing. I think they're also open to like meeting other people, especially like even when I was like at the pool at our hotel in Santorini, like these two guys come up. They were there. They've been going to the same hotel for like 6 years, got married at that hotel.
Oh
They're like, what are you doing here? Are you alone? And I was like, my cousin's actually over there. They're like, oh, we never see you with her. I'm like, she's like reading somewhere. And like, I'm just chilling in the pool. And they were so sweet, offered me champagne, like so nice.
Yeah.
And I think people just like on vacation, they like want everyone to like be having like the best time they could. And I think they're just a lot friendlier. I don't know.
They are. And I think when you live in a city, you kind of, most people share a lot, right? Mm-hmm. You kind of go to the same workout spot. You grab coffee from the same place. You hang out in the same place. So when you travel, that's your opportunity to be like, oh my God, this person looks so cool. What are they about? Where do they live? What do they do? Right? And then you don't really get that in your cute little bubble, which is amazing, right? Like it's your comfort zone. But at the same time, that's the beauty of traveling and experiencing everything. And it's funny because I met you that night in Santorini. The next night, I got rezos at this amazing, I think it's Michelin-starred restaurant. It's called Celine.
I remember you telling me. Yeah.
It's in Fira. And it was a 13-course meal. It was amazing service, a beautiful hotel. And then I see these two ladies just having the time of their life, just laughing it off, talking about everything. And then they finished dinner earlier. They stood up, they look at me, they come to me and they're like, well, we're going to the bar. You should join us after this. We're all single here.
I love it.
And I joined them after for drinks and it was so much fun. Like, it's one of those things that I think you need to be open to because you do give off a vibe at some point where you're kind of like, please don't bother me. You know, I'm enjoying my meal. I'm good to go. It's always good to actually just be more relaxed, be more open to talking to anyone. And you honestly never know. Like, I have so many travel stories where, again, it's either I'm waiting for a friend or I am actually traveling alone. And I either have a really good conversation with the waiter, I end up in the back of the kitchen, you know, having a private tour, or I get an extra dessert, an extra, you know, glass of champagne, whatever it is, or I actually meet locals.
Amazing.
And I get that experience from them where they either give me recommendations or they take me somewhere that's really cool, right? So
I love it.
Yeah, it's all fun.
Even if you're traveling, so you're really not traveling alone, as long as you're open to other people like approaching you or talking to you. Like, if you're a closed off person, obviously no one's going to really come up to you. But if you have that energy about you, then it can totally change your trip and make it so much better.
It does. And, you know, put aside meeting new people and like not really being alone. Let's take the moments that you're actually alone.
Yeah.
I remember being in Rome. That was probably my first or second trips where I was alone. And it was just for 2-3 days. And it's just, you're so calm. You have your day for yourself. You wake up when you want to wake up. You're not waiting for anyone. So it's good to have those moments because it's hard for you in general as a busy person to be alone with your thoughts, to have time to relax, to just wander around like the nice streets. Pick a restaurant on the way, right? Sit down. I love sitting down in a restaurant and grabbing a glass of wine and just people watching. I think just a combination of this is just perfect because you learn so much about yourself. You learn about, you know, what you want, how you like to do things, and then it changes. It really evolves. And, you know, sometimes I want to be alone. Sometimes I don't. I just want to hang out with people all the time, right? So...
Of all the places you've gone to, do you have a favorite hotel and a favorite destination?
Oh my God.
It could be both. Like, it could be the same thing, but...
It's a really tough question in general.
Or you can give me like a top 3 if you want.
Yeah, like when someone asks me, what's your favorite book? What's your favorite movie?
It's so hard.
It's always like, no. Like, I don't want to pick one. I have so many because they're so different. So I went to Portugal 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. There was a hotel called Oitavos, close to Cascais.
Right.
That was beautiful. I think it was like a reserve. There was a nice golf course. It was a really cool, like, infinity pool. And
stunning.
It was just such a beautiful place. The service was amazing. It was just so quiet and close to Cascais. That was really surprising to me because... You know how when you're planning something, you're like, okay, I need to do everything, but I'm not that excited over this area.
Yeah.
And I remember going there. My mom, my sister, and my mom's cousin were going to join me. And their flight got delayed like 3 times.
Oh, gosh.
Exactly. And so I'm like, okay, fine. I'll leave Lisbon. I'll go straight to Cascais and I'll just do things on my own. And I went to this rugged beach that required like a 30-minute hike. It's called Praia de Ursa. Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Was it worth it?
It was amazing. I think it was one of the most beautiful beaches I've seen. The area was amazing. So I had so much time. I even stopped in Lisbon. I went to the Time Out Market. I had an Aperol Spritz.
I love it.
I ate like an octopus hot dog, which I've like never heard of before.
I've never heard of that.
Exactly. Was it good? It was. Okay. It was interesting. Yeah, like an octopus in a bun. And then I went straight to Cascais. I checked in the hotel. I did those beaches. I had dinner. And then I came back to pick them up from the airport. But I think that hotel was amazing. I went to Art Basel 2 years ago. I stayed at the Faena. Oh my God, it was amazing. Like everything about that place. Again, the service, the room. Like, I remember, I've never had that before. I don't know if you have. I remember rushing into the room, dropping everything, like just being super disorganized, and then going straight to Art Basel. And then I came back after a couple of hours and they basically cleaned my room. I had just checked in.
Amazing.
And then they had like dessert on the two sides of the bed table, the bed. It was amazing.
I love when like the service,
decor.
like the service, the decor, when everything comes together, it really does make your experience.
It does. The spa experience as well, the lovely beach. And even I remember being so tired at some point. I was in my pajamas. I had like a sweat on and I was like, okay, let me just go and walk at the beach. And there was this huge Buddha statue. And
oh, cool.
The aquarium, I forgot the name of the artist, but it's basically like a golden animal in there. And it's gorgeous and like a big cage thing. What else? Okay, that's a really funny story because, again, back to last minute and not planning stuff.
Which I feel like is most of your trips.
It is, my God. Like even Santorini, I arrived to Santorini, picked up the car, which was an adventure to actually drive.
We'll discuss your driving in the car after.
Oh my God. Anyway, and then I was like, okay, I need to find a hotel. And I literally booked it 5 minutes before getting there.
That's insane.
The guy at the desk was like, oh my God, like I just printed up, like it just came to me that you're staying in our hotel. I'm like, yeah, I do that a lot. I have to if I want to,
That's just who I am.
Fit in as many things as possible. But so the story was I was doing a road trip with my sister in Spain. And we ended up just kind of also playing it by the ear almost. And we were in Ronda. We wanted to drive down to Marbella. Mm-hmm. And it was maybe 10 or 11 p.m. She was driving. I opened my laptop. I started looking for hotels. And I was torn between these two hotels. And the hotel was almost in kind of like a complex. So it wasn't this super fancy. Right. It was a boutique hotel. But I saw the view and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll pay the premium. The view looks good. We'll figure it out. And so since we booked it last minute, listen, there are perils to like doing things last minute for sure. It's not always adventure, but it's always a fun story to talk about. And so we get there.
Oh gosh,
it's
I'm
really
nervous.
dark. It's really dark. It's kind of like how you go into your building, right? You need to have a fob. And then I get there. I click on the buzzer. No one's replying. We're exhausted. It's 10 p.m., or 11 p.m. We just want to
get into bed.
Check in. Exactly. And it took maybe 20 minutes for the guy to show up. I was so angry. I was like, what is this? And understandably, like I booked it last minute. Yeah. It was a boutique hotel, meaning that there's no 24/7. Yeah. So I was like,
not like there's a concierge 24/7 trying to help.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, calm down. Like you're here. He's here. Let's do this. We check in. It was a beautiful room with gorgeous views. The next morning, they're like, do you want to have breakfast here? And I never say yes to breakfast in a hotel.
Really?
I love trying out breakfast spots
so interesting.
In the town. I really do. Because for me, normally a hotel is like a buffet style. So it's not what I like in general. I like to choose what I want. But this one was kind of a set breakfast.
Interesting.
But it wasn't a buffet because we had the patio to ourselves. Yeah. So we go out, we're sitting on the patio. The food was delicious. It was all organic, high quality. I've never had breakfast this good to the point that I ordered it the next day. I never do something twice. Wow. I'm always like, no, I need to, find something else.
New, yeah.
It was amazing. But again, like if you saw it, you wouldn't be like, oh, I better stay in this hotel. But I rave about it up until now. And it was just the view, the breakfast, the room. It was amazing.
What's the hotel called?
I don't remember, but I'll definitely
let us know.
Because it's so cute. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely let us know.
Destination. So, okay.
Is there a place where like you would go back a million times over? And
I have a million times. Right. I've tried all the islands there, Hawaii. Like, I know it's kind of a bit weird because you're like, oh, North America, go to Hawaii. Like, come on, don't you know Europe or aren't you adventurous? I am adventurous. But Hawaii, I always enjoy it.
It never disappoints.
Oh my God. And I'm always in awe. I'm never like, oh, I've been there, I've done that. No, oh God, I love it. My top two are Maui and the Big Island.
I've been to Hawaii once. I was really young. I remember surfing in Hawaii and like
God.
that's like I was like little, like by little I mean I was probably like 12. I loved it when I was there. I was with my mom, and the first place that we were supposed to stay, like the hotel was not what we expected.
Yeah.
So then she's like, screw this, like we're going somewhere else, like whatever. But it ended up being beautiful where we ended up staying.
Okay.
But it was fun, but I've only been once. But everyone loves Hawaii.
Oh my God. It's everything. Like it's the cool road trips. Like in Maui, you do the road to Hana, and then Paia is adorable. It's a surf town, and you have these little shops, and the food is so good. It's amazing. Yeah. So I would say Hawaii for sure as like I'm never disappointed. I love Greece. I love Italy.
I mean, you can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong. No. You're the happiest there.
Totally. You're thriving.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Beyond. What is next on your bucket list? Like, where are you dying to go?
Africa. I'd love to do South Africa, but I'd also like to do a safari somewhere. Again, not planned, so I can't really give you more details. And then Japan.
I'm dying to go to Japan. But I only want to go in cherry blossom season.
Oh, okay. Like, but you know what? Fall apparent, because I wanted to go now before I moved to London, and you need a 10-day quarantine. So that did not happen.
That will happen in the future.
Exactly, for sure. And so fall apparently is really nice too. Not just spring. Yeah.
I'm sure it's gorgeous no matter what, but like,
no, I know.
I love the like beauty of the cherry blossoms. I'm like, I have to see that one day. I'm also like dying to see like the Northern Lights at one point in my life.
Yeah, Iceland, right?
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, Iceland was always on my bucket list. Croatia too, but I think my top three would be Africa, Japan, and I am dying to go to Australia.
You've never been?
I've never been.
I studied abroad in Australia.
No way.
It is one of my favorite. If I could live anywhere else, I'd probably live there.
Yeah.
I love it. You would fall in love with it. Like,
no, I know.
There's so much to explore, and you can't do all of Australia when you're there at once, but definitely you can do a whole chunk of it, and it's beautiful. It's one of my favorite places in the whole world.
I would have gone this year if it wasn't for, the lockup. And
totally. And they're not letting anyone in.
They're not exactly.
They've been really strict. But.
They have. So I have my best friend who I travel with a lot. She lives there. She moved there right after a trip to the Philippines. And she loves it. She lives in Sydney. She's thriving as well. And I'm looking forward to going there and visiting her, but
I'm sure she's annoyed that she can't be traveling either.
No, oh my God. She's a travel blogger. So she's got this itch all the time. She's trying to do like
within Australia.
Yeah, but it's still pretty tough. Like because they shut down the border as soon as there's one case. So yeah, we'll see.
Hopefully you'll get there in the future.
I know.
Have you ever gone on dating apps in, like, when you're traveling solo in foreign countries? Have you ever gone on any dates in foreign countries, like, while you're solo traveling?
Yeah.
And how did those go?
So not on it. Okay. So dating app, yes. LA is an example, right? So I've done that. I've only gone on one date. Normally it's just a quick chat, and you can't kind of get busy when you're traveling. Totally. So you just don't really, but I did go on a date once, and that was fun. Aside from that, it's, you do actually meet people just at a bar or wherever you are, and then you end up just going out for dinner or drinks. And I think it's a lot of fun. And I think, again, like I wouldn't be like, go and talk to strangers. No, clearly be careful. But, if you're hanging out in a nice restaurant or a nice bar, you're more likely to meet someone that you also like go with your gut. Like you feel comfortable around.
If the person's creepy, don't go out with them.
Exactly. Like if you meet them in a random dark alleyway, don't do that. Like unless you're into more adventures, I don't know. But
if you're at a nice
I usually
restaurant,
meet them. Yeah. So what happened with me, and that's another story. It's crazy. That was such a fun story. And a fun weekend. I had just resigned from the startup that I worked for briefly. and I was going into investment banking, and I only had 3 days, basically, like a long weekend.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. I'm chatting with a friend. She lives in Montreal. She's like, I'll meet you wherever you want to go. Where do you want to go? And I'm like, I heard great things about Mexico City. She's like, let's do this. So we both booked the same time, like arrival timing.
Right.
Exactly the same. I think there was a difference of 5 minutes.
That's amazing.
She had to leave earlier because it's further away from her. And by the time I wake up, she sends me a picture of her passport, and it's not her passport. So she went on a road trip to New York from Montreal, ends up swapping passports at, I guess, the borders. You know, you show your passport at the borders, and she basically just swapped with her friend, never looked at her passport before, getting to the airport. So she's like, oh, Johanne, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to make it, but I will figure this out. I will make it, but just not on time. And I'm like, it's okay. Just keep me updated. I went to the museum. I went back to our Airbnb, and then I was like, okay, Polanco is the Beverly Hills of Mexico City. Let me go there. I had no rezos again, last minute. There are 2 of the top, maybe more, but I definitely know 2 of the top 50 restaurants in the world who are there. It was pouring rain. My battery was about to die. I grab an Uber. I walk around to the first restaurant. I put my name down. I'm thinking, okay, if I'm there, there's a higher chance that I'm going to get a table just by putting myself on a wait list.
Totally.
For today and tomorrow. I put my name down on the first one. The second one's a 10-minute walk, but it was pouring rain. I literally enter this random store, electronics store, and I basically ask them if I can charge my phone for a bit. So I do that for 2 minutes, waiting for a cab. Grab the cab, go to Pujol. It's Enrique Olvera's restaurant in Mexico City.
Incredible.
And it's just so hard to get into. You need to book in advance and all that. I arrived to Pujol. They were adorable. Like, I did not have rezos. I show up soaking wet. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I really want to get into this place. Do you have rezos for today or tomorrow?
And
it's seatings, right? It's
not like we book months in advance.
Yeah. And it's like, you can't just show up 5 minutes, whenever you want, because
it's like a 2-hour seating.
8:15, 10:15 type of thing. And so I was there around maybe 7 or so. And the guy's like, you know what? You could come back at 10:15, but to be honest with you, I don't think you're going to get anything. Like, that doesn't happen. It's
not like people cancel these. Like, these are very hard reservations.
They're hard reservations, and you have to always put down a deposit, right?
Completely.
So, yeah, people cancel ahead of time in these cases. But they were so nice. They gave me a big charger. I sat in the lounge. They gave me water. And the guy was starting talking to me, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do some bar hopping before dinner, before I try again. And he's like, okay, go to Limontour, do this and that, blah,
Amazing,
blah.
Yeah.
So I start off with my original list, which was Jules' Basement. I passed by this chocolate place that's also very famous.
Ooh.
They had really cool flavors because I had nothing to eat the entire day.
I'm sure you were starving.
I do that a lot, by the way. I just love to sit down and have the best meal of my life without having anything before that. And so I was just bar hopping. I had a bit of chocolate with me to eat. And then after Jules, I'm like, okay, let me look at Limontour, like just check it out. So I sit down, order a drink. It's maybe 20 minutes before I have to leave to go check Pujol again.
Yeah.
And this guy's looking at me. He's like, oh, hey, so are you from here? And I'm like, no, I'm not. He's like, so what are you doing here? Like, that's such a local bar. And like, not everyone knows about it. Right. Exactly. And I just mentioned Pujol and how I'm trying to go there. And, he's like, oh, come hang out with us. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I really want to try to make the rezo. Try to get in. He's like, okay, but like tomorrow, let's do something tomorrow. And so I go to Pujol, a table of 8. So that's $800 cancels.
Insane.
That never happens.
Insane.
I'm sitting down. I'm sure people thought I was a food critic. I had a huge table in front of me. They gave me this like huge charger. I was on the phone. I think I was calling a friend or something just to catch up. And I had the entire set menu. On top of that, I had a private kitchen tour where I had dessert there.
Way.
They gave me 2 desserts. I know I was full. I was like, I'm loving this, but I can't eat anymore. And then lots of dessert, wine, or whatever they were serving with desserts. And then as soon as I came back to my table, there was another churro on the table. Non-stop. It was a beautiful experience. Exactly. It was a beautiful experience.
Amazing.
And then my friend shows up. So we met up in Condessa, which is where we were staying. And then the next 2 days, we spent them with the guy that I met at Timor. He took us to the coolest bar that I had never heard of. It's called Scotch. Then we went to Santa Fe, which is a bit further. Like you need to drive to get there. And it's where all the cool clubs are, right?
Nice.
And like he was in the know, so we went in and it was so much fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so fun. And I can't believe you got into that restaurant.
Yeah.
Like
No,
insane.
I know. It's crazy.
Insane.
But yeah, back to like, I think just letting things flow, and it's just my own experience. Dating apps were never, oh my God, this is so much fun and I have so many stories to tell you about them. No. But I think just these stories for me are so cool, where it's just you're organically meeting people. There's a guy who just stood up and decided to talk to you. Like, I honestly props to men in general for doing that. If you think about the effort that takes, and like how often
they get shut down.
Exactly. Like it's crazy, and it's amazing. And, you know, things are changing and women are also being more straightforward and being also more like doing things that guys would usually do. And that's also great, right?
But it takes a lot of courage, I will say, for like someone to come up to you, especially because 95% of the time girls will shut them down.
For sure. Even if they're interested, which is just the funniest thing ever, especially when you're on vacation and it's not like you're going to run into that person again, right?
Totally.
But I think it's just our kind of defense mechanism, and
it's like stranger.
You're like, okay, give me some time, you know?
Like, I don't really know you. Yeah.
Come back in 30 minutes.
Totally. So when we met, you told me that you rent a car basically everywhere that you go, which is really shocking to me because like I never think to rent a car in like a foreign country. What is your mentality behind it? Why did you start to do that? And also, you also told me you're not a great driver.
I'm not.
Which is crazy that you still rent cars and you're like, I'm not the best driver.
Yeah, get insurance. No, for sure. I always get insurance. I asked for just the complete insurance package just to make sure. No, so okay, growing up, it took me a while to actually be comfortable driving.
Okay.
I had a close friend of mine who actually taught me, but it took forever for me to like actually be handed a car and
comfortable
everyone's like,
wheel.
okay, yeah, you can drive, but still be careful. And so in Lebanon, if you can drive in Lebanon, you can drive everywhere.
Really?
Yes. It is. Look it up. Just type driving in Lebanon on YouTube. You will understand what I'm talking about. It's insane. And again, I'm not a good driver, but I'm also someone who doesn't think too much about these things. I think, how can I make this the most efficient, where I can actually do whatever it is I want? There are no obstacles. It's when you have a car, right? Because you're not thinking, oh, I have to wait for the cab to show up, or, oh, I have to spend $300 today, or, oh my God, I have to carry this heavy backpack with me because I don't have a place to store my stuff. So if you think about how I travel, sometimes I leave the house or the hotel or wherever I am by 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. I go on a hike, but on the way back, I don't want to have to go back to the hotel. I want to get dressed, have my makeup ready, and then go to a restaurant, say. You can't necessarily do that if you're grabbing a cab everywhere, unless you want to carry like all your time. I am. And I love driving. I suck at it, but I love driving. So it's just a matter of being careful. I love driving
also, yeah.
Yeah, and then just one thing that I have to say to anyone and to myself all the time, do not drive when you're tired. Do not drive when you're stressed out. Do not drive when you're angry.
Completely.
Do not. There is no good coming out of that.
Or if you're drunk. Drunk driving.
100%.
I feel like that's a given. But yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, but I have to admit, like, I felt comfortable everywhere. Santorini was honestly for an hour straight because I took the fast ferry from Crete to Santorini.
Okay.
So the car was waiting for me there. From there to Ia, that was scary.
Because it's like twists and turns.
It is.
Stuff.
And then the ATVs and the random driving, like people, it's narrow streets, but then everyone's just speeding into like just getting to wherever they want to get.
And when you don't know the location, like it's scary to be driving through those streets.
And my connection was really off. So, and that was my fault. I kind of had it set up in the weirdest way. It wasn't anything to do with like the service provider or anything. So I didn't have a Google Map system to orient me. But the good thing is you can always like see the signs and stuff. So it's crazy how when you start relying so much on these navigators, you just kind of forget common sense, right?
Totally.
Like you forget to just look and be like, okay, this is not the highway that I need to be on, or I'm going up, not down, or, so another thing with driving is I have a really and not just driving, even walking, I have a really terrible sense of orientation. If I tell you, let's go right, do not listen to me, go left, always. I never get it right. It's crazy.
I have a really good sense of direction.
Yeah? You remember stuff? Because I don't remember anything.
Really good. Like, even if, like, as long as I've done it once, like, I can figure out where I am. My last question for you before we wrap up is, what types of travel tips do you have for people that not even if they're traveling solo, whether it's something that has to do with like packing, or I know you use Foursquare, what type of travel tools or travel tips do you have for people when they're traveling?
Oh, so many. I'd say for me, it's all about efficiency, reducing wait times and all that. If you're in North America, apply to your Nexus for sure. I'd say packing, I am the worst packer. If anything, it's something that I am advising myself right now. You're not going to need 70% of what you pack.
I'm the biggest overpacker.
I think we both saw our luggages and we're like, yeah, you're right. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I say just reduce the amounts of things that you take. There's no point of taking as much. It'll just be a hassle to move things around. It sucks, really. And again, it's a learning opportunity because I don't do it very well, despite the fact that I've been all over the place and everywhere. I still have that to kind of resolve or fix or be more efficient with. I would say something that helped me get organized is just having an Excel spreadsheet. Even if it's last minute, I always have those. And sometimes I just take a picture of it. I travel with my laptop, but that's just my own industry where you kind of have to have your laptop with you all the time. So Excel for me was amazing because I would like literally split the tabs, or even within one sheet, I'd have beaches, restaurants, activities. So things to do that are fun, like a tour in a museum or cooking class or whatever it is you want to do. So you just kind of break those down into categories. Something that I learned recently, I think it depends where you are. I still like the whole last minute booking and doing. But I had a really bad experience in the south of France. That was right before I was in Santorini. Right. We did the trip from Marseille to Menton, a road trip as well. And I remember saying, okay, I'll get a French number and then I can call those cute bed and breakfasts when I'm there. Gosh. I called 60 bed and breakfasts. We almost slept in a parking lot in Cassis because we could not find...
Everything was sold out?
Everything within an hour's worth of driving. Yes, it was insane. And the funny part is I think there were maybe 3 hotels that were 30 to 50 minutes away. And I'm like, okay, I'll grab the phone because I'm not going to drive 30, 50 minutes away. And always do that. I think it's really good to just double check, to call, and don't take no for an answer. I think that's my biggest lesson in general in life.
Totally.
If you don't ask, it's always going to be a no. So make sure to like call that restaurant, say, put me on a wait list, call the next day if you're really wanting to try that restaurant. Same for hotels. Just give it a shot. You have nothing to lose. And, people do want to try and accommodate you. Cool. So always do that. I think south of France, my tip would be book ahead of time your breakfast, your beach
Never
chair,
thought I'd hear you say it.
I know. I honestly, I'll never go back there if I don't have everything booked and buckled. Like that's one thing.
Especially during like the summer and high season, like when it's a very popular, like you definitely need to plan in
So
advance.
yeah, August, everyone leaves, right? Everyone leaves Paris. Everyone leaves to just go down to the south. And I remember my friends from there, and she's like, Johanne, come on, like you should have known this. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't care. Like for me, I always think the price of last minute is either a premium, 20 to 30% premium of whatever the basic rate is. Not having as many choices, right? And that's fine with me because I'm extremely flexible. I don't have to stay in this hotel. I can stay in 20 other hotels. That's fine. To make things easier, what I do is the things that I really look at, and that kind of streamlines the planning process. And that's why I get to do things last minute. I love Condé Nast, CN Travel. I love Travel and Leisure. For me, I don't follow a lot of people on Instagram. What I do is I follow people who either have a lifestyle that, is similar to mine or, go to places that I'd love to go to. Right. So I think, whenever I kind of have an idea, okay, I'm going to Japan probably in the next 2 years, I'll start saving, or I'll start like saving down posts or locations and then kind of jotting down a list. Because honestly, if you put it to paper, you put it on an Excel sheet, it will happen. It will. Oh my God. Like this entire year, I wanted to do the south of France. I wanted to do Greece. I wanted to pass by LA, right? I wanted to kind of do some sort of like mountain resort vacation. And I did that right before coming to LA. I went to Banff. I live an hour and 30 minutes away by plane from Banff. I had never gone. And I'm leaving Canada, so that was my chance to do it. So
you're like, I have to do it now. Else, when am I getting back here?
Exactly. And it was so beautiful. And all you needed was 3 days, and it was more than enough. And yeah, it was insane. And then, yeah, I think just put everything down. Just I don't like it. And I catch myself on these things where it's like, but I barely have 3 days, but I don't know how I'm going to make it work. You can make it work. That's why there are so many budget, travel tips. And it's all about kind of streamlining what's important to you. So I can maybe cut down on hotel budgets and not stay at a 5-star hotel, but I'm not going to give up my Michelin star restaurants or like cool experiences. I'm not going to give up on renting a car. So it's really kind of figuring out what's important to you, jotting things down so you're a bit organized. It doesn't have to be perfect. And the reason why I say this is because I always have plan B, C, D almost. So if say, I want to go on a nice boat trip and it's all fully booked, okay, that sucks. And, I always kind of travel thinking that this is the last time I'm going to visit the place. Right. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, what can I swap? What can I, reshuffle? Like
maybe there's a vineyard here. Maybe I can do a wine tasting, whatever it may be. So you have other options.
100%.
I love that.
And then talking to locals because they give the best advice. I think I mentioned this to you when I was in Crete. I couldn't get a rental car, which was so
devastating.
Annoying. And listen, I tried. Like the hotel tried for me. I was walking to dinner. I passed by this rental car office that was right there close to the hotel. And the guy was like, you know what? You can probably just hire someone to drive you around. And I'm like, well, just give me a budget. Just tell me how much it's going to cost. And it was so affordable there. And I had the time of my life. I became best friends with the woman who drove me around. We went out for drinks afterwards. And then she was like, you know what? I have a friend who was a wedding planner in Santorini who stayed at Canav her entire time. I'm gonna just call her now and she's gonna speak to you. She gave me all the cool recs.
Incredible.
Right? So
incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it happens. And it's again, like we're up until now, this has happened to me 1,000 times. I'm so happy when that happens. I'm so impressed. There's still that element of excitement, surprise to it, because you really never know.
Totally. And you never know where it's going to take you.
More than a bad thing.
Totally. You never know where you'll end up, where it's going to take you. And we're so lucky that we got to meet because of it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being on the show. I'm so happy that you were able to come to LA and do this. Thank you guys for listening and watching. I'm Carly Consker. I will see you guys next time. Stay tuned because you never know where we'll end up next. Goodbye. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe, rate us, and leave a review. And as always, follow us on Instagram at OneandRobesPod. And while you're there, you might as well follow me at Carly Consker. See you next time.